today?
I am very well. Very well. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been. Far too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, so today, are we going to do our top Marvel picks today? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least, mention the fact that it's Star Wars Day.
Well, that's exactly. I want to make sure we touch on that.
Okay.
So happy May the 4th.
May the 4th.
Yeah, it's cool. I had this big panic attack today because I don't know why I thought this, but for some reason I thought Solo was being released today, and I didn't know about it.
It's weird. You'd think that they would have actually done that. It would have made perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't arrange it, but yeah, it's not getting released until, I think it's later this month, maybe the 19th?
Yeah, it's something like that. Oh, wait, is that KeyCon weekend it's being released on?
I think so.
Because that's going to suck if that's the case.
Yeah.
Anyway, in other Star Wars news, I watched The Evil Within at lunch today.
Yeah,
well,
and?
What I had of it.
Okay.
Which is more than you realize I have. So, it wasn't as bad as I recalled. So for those listening, this is the movie that Corey and I made with a whole bunch of other hooligans forever ago that we're going to be talking about at KeyCon.
When we were young and stupid.
Yep. Not as bad as I remember. There's actually some parts that are like, I know the acting is stilted. And sometimes the fight choreography is not as smooth as it should be. Or as it could be, I guess. But it wasn't half bad.
Well, consider that it was a bunch of 20-year-olds, making a Star Wars film. It's... I don't think it's surprising that, it's not going to be up to Hollywood standards.
Oh, no.
We did the best with what we could with, what was available.
Yeah, and which was really no budget.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even make a trailer for the price that we spent on the entire movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, my takeaway from watching it today was, A, it was not as bad as I remembered. It was actually much better than I remembered. B, was, damn it, is Ward a badass. Out of the whole 25 minutes that I have, there's only one scene with Ward in it, and he says nothing, or barely nothing. He has like one line,
right?
And it just freaking kills me every time. And I remember at the time that we filmed this thing, when he was saying that line, I remember us all going, "Ward's the man, Ward's the man."
You know what? I do not remember that scene.
No? So in the scene, the line he says, well, he's talking, like, it's at the Jedi Council. I'm not spoiling anything. It doesn't really matter. It's the Jedi Council meeting, and they're talking about, all this shit going on, and the younglings were killed, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then, they're all like, oh, we're not going to do anything, because the Jedi Council, they're too busy masturbating or whatever it is they do. And then Ward speaks up and says, well, you know what, we shouldn't just trust this, blah, blah, blah. Like he makes a point that, we've never been good with these guys. It's never been good. And they're like, what are we going to do? And he says, nothing for now. It's just his whole delivery, the eyes and the eyebrows and the tilt of the head and everything. It was like, that's why I love Ward. God, I don't know. It was good, and he had like no lines in the scene. It's just they kept, they'd shoot his face and he'd have an expression. Yeah. And Edgar's eyebrows just killed me. That whole scene, I really liked that whole scene. Just Edgar's eyebrows and.
You know what? Honestly, I always thought that if we're ever going to do an Evil Within drinking game, one of the take a drink for every time Edgar's eyebrows take on a life of their own.
Yes. But there was a lot of good... Actually, I don't know who actually directed that scene, if that was Mike or Clay or not. But just the cut of it, like the editing was actually pretty good. Like it, even like they were talking about the scene with more stuff going on than the dialogue would have indicated.
Right.
You know, letting the actors act. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I know the acting's not phenomenal, but it's still pretty good. Like, so anyway.
Yeah.
So out of all the shit that I watched, that's the part that I really, really liked.
Okay.
And the other part was the ADR on. There was the one character in the cantina scene. Oh, I can't remember what his name was, and I don't even know who he was. I think he was a hairdresser.
Okay.
And his voice just didn't cut the mustard.
Right.
He didn't sound very tough. So it was overdubbed, and I think it was like Peter, the drummer from Anti-Gravity, that did the voice.
Okay.
It just made me laugh, because I remember what this guy sounded like. He was a super nice guy, but he had an effeminate voice, and this guy had to sound like, you know, I'm going to cut you down. Like, so
yeah.
they used, I think it was Peter's voice, the drummer's voice from Anti-Gravity, did the voice. He sounds all tough like this.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, I think I'm going to kick his ass. It was more, I'm going to kick his ass, you know? I
remember which kid you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the hairdressers for the movie.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are the things that stood out. But I want to watch this at KeyCon. We got to watch it together, grab a room or a hotel room or whatever, just watch the thing and laugh as a drinking game.
Yeah. You realize, of course, that we'll be all passed out by the time the thing's over, right?
No, well, no, by the time it's over, yes. But
yeah.
You got to be sober enough. Sober enough when it starts. Let's say that. But anyway, it was good. I actually enjoyed it. And I got some extra footage to watch, too. So stuff that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to sit down, take a look at all of it, go through it, and see what we can put out there for the fans.
Yeah, it looks like there's just a handful of stuff that's missing. Like, but this version here doesn't have the ADR in it all the way through.
Right.
We had ADR in the theatrical version somehow. I don't know why the ADR is missing. Like in the scenes on the ship. I remember the ADR being in there, except for Chris Reed's ADR because it wasn't done. But the ADR is gone in this version. So
yeah, well, I noticed that the one opening scene is definitely very echoey. There's a lot of reverb there.
Yeah, I think that was just the room. But anyway, it was fun to watch. And my acting was not as bad as I remember it. But the biggest disappointment with it, though, there's no fucking Corey Toews in here. You're all at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough life, being the villain.
Yeah.
Being the bad guy.
And our scene together, which I've seen, but was not part of the footage, the Shaq Dar and, what's your guy's name? The legless guy. Not Legolas. Legless.
No. I've been trying to remember his name, and I cannot for the life of me. I even, started writing an animated short film script around him.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. That was my favorite part of the entire shoot, to be honest. You and I doing our scene together, I don't know, because I wanted to be in a scene with you. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I do have the script at home, so I was thinking of maybe having a couple of those out for our panel at KeyCon. So
that would be great.
Yeah, I still have a lot of this stuff. Yeah. All right. So, do you want to go over this list? Yeah, let's move on to the next topic. So, Corey and I decided to rank, or did you just do top 5?
I was just going to kind of, riff off of you, see which...
riff off of me. Yeah. So, I took all 13 movies. 14 is with Infinity War, and I'm not putting this on the list because it's too fresh. It still hurts. It still hurts. But I ranked them. So what I did is I took all 13 movies, and then I ranked them by how good they were. I didn't rank them against each other. I just ranked them by how good they were. And certain movies got 4 out of 4. Most of the movies got 3.5 out of 4. And there was a good chunk that got 3 stars out of 4. And there was like 2 or 3 movies I got 2 out of 4.
Right.
So and I just did it that way and tried to rank them. And so keep in mind my top 5 could really change based on that. But currently, do we want to go 5 down?
Sure.
You keep it exciting for the final favorite number 1.
Sure.
All right. Well, hang on a sec here. I got my list beside me, but I'm at a turning light, and it went red again.
Of course.
Oh my God.
You gotta love Winnipeg traffic at rush hour is the worst.
It's funny because this is my only spot of traffic. It takes me like 4 or 5 tries to get through this light, and then the rest of the way it's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
There always seems to be that one spot, doesn't there?
Yeah. There's a joke in here somewhere. We gotta find it.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
So this is the corner of Lagimodiere and Fermor. There's got to be, there's got to be a joke in here somewhere. I think that could be a strip. There's a strip in here somewhere. Those 2 words.
More than likely.
All right. Okay. So my number 5 favorite Marvel movie of all time is The Incredible Hulk.
Which version?
Not the Ang Lee version. And I'm only placing the Marvel Studios films. I'm not including any X-Men. I'm not including any Universal. I'm not including any Sony.
Okay.
Although one of them is, well, whatever. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. I really liked Incredible Hulk. I love Ed Norton. I don't care what anybody says about him. The fact that he wrote the script, I really liked his take on Bruce Banner and the whole duality and all that sort of stuff. The action sequences were really, really good. This was borderline a 4-star film for me. Because I even liked the ending with the Abomination, the whole fight scene. It was completely out of a comic book. There was a sense of urgency in that final fight scene. It's like, how the hell is the Hulk going to win this one? I loved Tim Roth as the bad guy. Tim Roth is freaking awesome.
You can't go wrong with Tim Roth in your movie.
No, you can't.
You just can't.
And I know they always quip about how the Marvel villains are not strong. They have certain ones that are phenomenal, and they just kill everyone else off.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Roth was freaking amazing as a villain in the film.
Yeah.
Like the whole lead up to it, I was kind of sad to see him become Abomination because I wanted more Tim Roth. That's the only drawback. But in terms of villains in the movie, General Ross was the scene stealing for the whole movie for me. I love General Ross in this movie.
Yeah.
And having him come back in later Avengers movies was great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing with the Hulk wasn't it like a lot of the Marvel movies and the Avengers movies are based kind of on the Ultimates.
Yes.
So later take on the Avengers. So wasn't Bruce Banner's whole thing trying to replicate the
Super Soldier Serum?
Yes.
It certainly was.
Yeah. So it makes sense that General Ross, he's heavily involved with that, would come back in the movies. I'm actually surprised that they haven't brought him back more often.
Yeah, well, it's just the last couple of movies, and I guess the Russo brothers really pushed to have him. I think is what it was, because they're he was the best part of the Incredible Hulk movie, and I can't disagree with them. He was really amazing, but he's a huge comic nerd too, which I wasn't sure if you knew or not.
No, I didn't know that.
And he, I think him and the director Louis Leterrier spent a lot of time talking about the character, and I think a lot of scenes were expanded based on those conversations.
Okay.
So I don't know if you saw the extra footage for the Incredible Hulk movie, but
yeah, I've seen a lot of it. I've definitely remember seeing the opening, the alternate opening sequence.
Oh yeah.
Which actually I thought was really powerful, and I'm kind of sorry that they didn't keep that part in.
I liked it better, to be honest. That was better. But there was expanded scenes with talking about the Super Soldier Serum and Captain America and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That I loved the shit out of it. So anyway, did you like the film as well?
I did like the film. Don't know if I would have put it at my number 5, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Hulk is a difficult character to, I think, kind of translate and to give his own movie.
Yep.
So it makes sense, that now, later in the series, he's usually paired with one of the other characters.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a little bit more expansion on the character.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not to take anything away from the current version of the Hulk, but yeah, I still like the original. I still go back and watch it, and I still go back and enjoy it. There was a lot of good humor. Liv Tyler was great as Betty Ross. Like, I thought she was great. Okay, so number 4, which you're probably going to disagree with me on this, but it's because I'm a fanboy. Captain America: First Avenger.
I can't disagree, honestly.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It had that whole World War II thing going on. There was a lot of... the director they got was really helpful in that. He was a second unit director on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark-ish-ness to it. And I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I love The Rocketeer, which is the other movie he did. So,
love The Rocketeer.
Oh, The Rocketeer's amazing. It's so good. And this one had that same feel. And I loved the whole skinny Steve Rogers thing. Like, telling that part of the story was great. It was
really well done.
Yeah, and having had that in there, I still go back and remember, he was puny Rogers.
Yep.
And it still informs everything he does, like in the current Avengers movie. Like all that world building it's still in all the movies. Like it's so good.
Now, one of the things that I didn't realize at the time, and surprisingly, it was Doug who had pointed this out to me. The side characters, the ones that went in later, were a much older part of Marvel.
What, the Howling Commandos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah. That was one of the things I really loved about it.
Yeah, when I was watching it with Doug, he's like, oh my God, that's the Howling Commandos. I'm like, oops.
Yeah, Nick Fury was actually a member of the Howling Commandos, but they kept him out of the movies, which I thought was interesting. But I don't know if you know this or not, but my two favorite comic book characters of all time are Captain Britain and Union Jack.
Yes.
And Union Jack was retrofitted in the Marvel universe, in the movie universe, as one of the Howling Commandos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the British guy.
Okay.
Like the British guy, the British member of the Howling Commandos, that's Union Jack.
Well, see, there you go.
So
I'm learning something new every day.
Yeah, and Gabe, what was his name? There was one of the guy who was a trumpeter he played trumpet.
Okay.
In Howling Commandos. I think they make mention of it in the movie. His great-grandson or great-great-grandson was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he is he's the black fellow on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's his great-great-great-grandson or whatever. So I like that tie. He always, because the Howling Commandos were cocky, so he would always... He was the guy that trumpeted their arrival when they were fighting Nazis.
Okay.
With his bugle. And it was like they were so cocky, like, we're winning. Like, you can't beat us. All those characters were so great. And the guy with the curly mustache, that was Dum Dum Duggan, and he's awesome. He was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long period, too, in the comics. So all that stuff was just... All those little Easter eggs in it and were so amazing. And Agent Carter, come on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the reason why I like Captain America, and everything that they've really done with Marvel Comic Universe is they're including a lot of obscure characters that most people really don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And it's there for the fans. It's there for the fans to go, oh my God, they put in blank.
Yeah. And I like seeing the arc with Haley Atwell, like the Sharon Carter or Agent Carter. I just like all that stuff. Like there's too many Easter eggs. It's a good enough story as it is, but all those Easter eggs just push this movie into a perfect film.
Yeah. And I mean, some days, I'm sorry that I didn't grow up being a Marvel guy because, there's so much going on in these films that it's really, I'd really like to be able to enjoy them, just that little bit more.
Yeah.
Because of all the little things that they do wind up, just tossing in there for, the hardcore fans.
Yeah. I've collected Captain America for 15 years, I think. Maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
Since issue 200. So it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I love Cap, so. Anyway, moving on. My number 3 movie, which maybe it's number 3 because it's so recent, and maybe this would move down the list down in the future, but I rated it as a perfect film. Captain America got 3.5 stars out of me, but this next movie got 4 out of me. What is it? Thor Ragnarok?
Okay, this is one of the ones where we kind of disagree a little bit, but...
Yep.
So, tell me why you liked it.
Because it's a comic book movie. This one is a true comic book movie, and it's... all this, like, they incorporated stuff from World War Hulk, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
They've got the Grandmaster in there, which is a very obscure villain who I've always been a big fan of. Like, there's mentions of Beta Ray Bill in there.
Right.
And Man-Thing in the movie, which I don't know if you caught those references.
No, I didn't.
Like, all those little Easter eggs in there, just all that stuff, like, it was like Captain America. Like, all those little things made it better than just a good movie.
Right.
But that's, again, because it's a comic book movie. It's a true comic book movie, this one. That's what pushed it over the top for me. I mean, I like the humor, and yeah, maybe it overshadowed a bit, but, man crush on Chris Hemsworth, I guess. But I love...
Well, it's because, he's a beautiful space pirate.
Well, yes. Exactly. But I liked Valkyrie in this. I did not like Valkyrie as a character in the comic books. Never did. I don't know if I thought it was weak, but I just never did, and I never read any runs where she was interesting. But in this movie, she killed and she stole every scene. And just having Carl, what's his name? The guy who played
Can't
Bones.
help you, I'm sorry.
The guy who played Bones in Star Trek.
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, thank you. Having him in the movie, like, that's enough to make that a great movie alone. I wish he had more to do. And I loved Hela as a character. I wish she had more to do. I just felt, if anything, shortcomings for the movie was there wasn't enough. There's maybe too much going on.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that I really wasn't that impressed with was I enjoyed the humor, but it seemed like too many times they were just kind of shoving it right in your face.
Yeah.
There's too many scenes that were, they were really pushing to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's about the only thing that really kind of, dragged the movie down for me. Otherwise, I loved it. I loved the way that they treated Ragnarok, actually seeing Suter, seeing Fenrir, and, just seeing the end of Valhalla, or not Valhalla, of Asgard. It was a great bit. But, yeah, it was just, like I said, it was just the humor was just too over the top at some points. I mean, we could have done without the Hulk dick joke, right?
Yeah. I think, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's too fresh for me, this movie, and I think maybe it would drop a couple of points down. But
I mean, overall, it was definitely a very good film. I really enjoyed. It did a really great job, I think, of setting everything up.
Yes, it was a good transitional film. And considering the other Thor movies, especially the second one, wasn't very well regarded by a lot of people, I think people really wanted Chris Hemsworth to kind of break out because they felt he was good in the Avengers movies, but people didn't enjoy the Thor movies as much, although I did. But maybe they were just too comic booky.
I really enjoyed at least the first one and the third one. I watched the second one, and I really don't remember a lot about it.
I know, I keep forgetting bits about it. But there's a lot of good... It's Iron Man 2 level of good.
Yeah.
Which had a lot of great things in it, but it just... Cohesively, it was kind of... too long or missing something or
Right.
I'm not sure what. But I mean, I still love those two movies. But Thor, the first Thor is beautiful, especially like Kenneth Branagh being able to get a really good performance out of
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, who kind of has been, calling it in. And Kenneth Branagh called him on it.
Yeah.
He said, "You're calling it in. You're calling it in." That scene where he gets pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that, where Odin gets pissed off at Thor, and you got a little bit of tears in there.
Yeah.
And you're just a spoiled brat or whatever. Like that scene, boy, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
But,
Well, there was actually, I recall one interview with Anthony Hopkins where he actually admits, that he's been calling most of his roles in the last few years.
Yeah, but directors don't challenge him because it's Sir Anthony Hopkins, and Kenneth Branagh has been knighted too, I think. So he doesn't, he'll push.
Well, he's used to dealing with Shakespearean actors. So.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, apparently during this one scene, it's just, they finish the scene, he turns to Kenneth Branagh, he goes, "So is that lunch?" Kenneth just looks at him, steeples his fingers, and goes, "I think we'll try just one more take."
I love it. I love Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted him to do Thor 2. I really did, because I really thought the first one was great. Maybe not commercial enough, I guess, but whatever.
Well, he's an excellent director and an excellent actor. I mean, I love all of his Shakespeare adaptations.
Oh, God, yeah.
So...
they're so good. And even his non-Shakespearean stuff is really solid.
Yeah, I didn't really appreciate...
for example, Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, until, I watched it a couple more times and realized, how true to the book it actually is.
Yes, it is very true to the book. Maybe that's why it wasn't as popular.
Yeah.
Because the book is not... I mean, it's not for everybody. I love the book. I've read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein a gazillion times.
Yeah, I read it pretty much at least once a year.
Oh, wow, okay.
So
I got to read it again. All right, I got to move down the list here. I'm getting close to home. So that was number 3? Yeah, that was number 3. Number 2, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's
that
a perfect
I can't
film.
even... It really was. It was brilliant, and it was all due to the actors.
Yep.
I mean, Michael Keaton, you cannot beat that performance.
That is one of the greatest Marvel villains, period. And he might even be top 2.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been such a difficult character to bring together, regardless, because let's face it, the Vulture
character. It's not really a great character.
And the costume. I mean, he's an old man in spandex with a big furry collar, right?
Yeah.
But they managed to pull it together and really make they brought all the elements of the costume together and made something absolutely amazing. And, once you put Michael Keaton in there, it was just so good.
Yeah, it was so good. I feel like I know a lot of people say Loki or Tom Hiddleston is the best Marvel villain. And he still is in my mind, but only because he's had a lot of time to do it. Yeah. And he's had a few performances. If we get Michael Keaton again, I'm not saying we would, but if we did, we could see him grow just like Tom Hiddleston did, then I think he could easily overtake Tom Hiddleston.
I'm really hoping that they do the Sinister Six. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I agree. And they could, with Keaton as potentially the leader of it. Like, it would actually make sense. It would make total sense.
Yeah, because he knows how to work with, the alien technology, right?
Yep.
And that would make a perfect reason for, the Sinister Six to want to get together.
But, there's a lot of aspects about this movie that were great. They changed things a little bit to reinvent it a little bit from the 2 previous Spider-Mans that came before.
Yeah.
But they did it in a fresh way, and even though they changed a few things around, it didn't hurt. I mean, the essence of Spider-Man was really, truly there in this one, even more than before.
What did you think of the high-tech suit?
I was totally against the idea before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And then just the execution of it and how they explained it.
And all the locks and everything that Peter found out that Tony had been doing to him.
Yeah. But
the little insults.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I liked it in like one of my favorite Spider-Man storylines. And Spider-Man's another title. Like I collected all of JMS's run on Spider-Man, which I have if you ever want to borrow it. It is amazing, and they used a lot of stuff from there, which made me really happy. Making Aunt May a little more hip and less fragile, and actually making her cool again, which they tried to do in this. I don't know if they totally got it right, but it was pretty close. And the big reveal at the end, which I won't spoil, which I forgot about until I watched it again. I was like, oh shit, that's right from JMS's run, and the whole Tony thing, that's all from JMS's run. And it was a good evolution of the character, like actually trying to move him forward instead of rehashing the same story. It was good.
Yeah,
okay.
I was.
Sorry, I'm home.
Okay.
Gotta get to my number one. We might spend a whole episode talking about Spider-Man at some point. I think that might be worth it. And the next one. Now, you haven't seen this one, but my number one is Black Panther because it broke everything.
Yeah, I have no opinion on it because I have not seen it. I am sorry. I will turn in my geek card, but
I'm not going to wax too much about it because I have already done 2 whole episodes on Black Panther. It was that good. It broke, but I will say it broke the movie. It broke not the superhero movie mold. It broke the movie mold on so many levels. It's almost on par. It might even surpass Wonder Woman in terms of breaking movies.
Really?
It is that revolutionary. The treatment of female characters in this movie, the treatment of, different skin colors, the breaking of tropes, and it's done in such a respectful way. It's like I said in the other 2 previous podcasts on Black Panther, it actually was a movie about real people for once.
Yeah.
And it made all the characters more likable. It was so good. Like, every supporting character was great. So when I saw the Avengers movie and the characters they brought back from Black Panther, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a couple of, you might not know who the characters were. Like, they reinvented shitty characters in the comic books and made them cool by making them relatable and real. And I almost want to go back and read some Black Panther comic books, which I've never wanted to do.
Black Panther had a real potential to be incredibly racist.
Yes.
If they had tried to do this, say, back in the 80s or early 90s, it would have, by today's standards, it would have been so offensive.
Yep, guaranteed.
They've apparently managed to very much celebrate, African culture, and even what I saw in Avengers Infinity War, the actor who's playing Black Panther, I could believe, is a king.
Yes. But that's the thing, he's not a perfect king. That's what I like about, like, that's, it's so good. Like, this movie is perfect. Like, Spider-Man is perfect, but this just nudges Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was great, it was enjoyable, and I loved everything about it, but Black Panther was perfect. Everything in its execution, and, again, the villain is one of the, he could be top 2. Tom Hiddleston may get dethroned by the villain in this movie and by Michael Keaton. The villain in this movie is so good. Like, and you're on the villain's side and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be. It's just like Michael Keaton, like, I agree. Tony Stark's a dick. You're so right. And in this movie, it's like, Wakanda are a big dick.
You know what? Actually, my wife and I were even discussing Infinity War, and we kind of agreed with Thanos in some ways.
Yeah.
So
he's not wrong. That makes a great villain.
I think, that's another possible podcast in the future is, what makes these villains so relatable?
Yeah, and the best villains are. So I'm going to cap it off there. I'm going to sign off. I already have another episode, but I think this one needs to be posted, so I might post a couple episodes this weekend.
Okay.
That means we need to have another one for next week. But let's happy May 4th to everybody.
May the fourth be with you.
And we'll see you
Always.
always, and always with you. Oh my God, it's so offensive. I don't care.
Yep.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.